Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, I thought we'd look at the car importation, the story. I won't say brouhaha yet, story that came up. This week, the federal government announced via the Nigerian Customs Service, the PRO, Mr. Wale Adeni, had put out that, well, from the 1st of January, we can't import cars anymore through land borders. It's not as if we haven't been here before, but that's the latest. We can't import through land borders. I guess that leaves just airports and seaports. And we'll look at it. What is behind the reasoning? We'll be able to get Mr. Adeni on the phone from Abuja. But in the studio, we have someone who is a concerned party in the person of Mr. Fred Nnam Ajuzie. And Mr. Ajuzie is chair of the National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders, the Apapa chapter. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
This idea, we've been here before, right? This whole idea about, no, you can't import through land borders, but somehow the policy was relaxed and now it's being revived. Now, anybody who is in the business of importing forwarder, freighter, and all of that, you must do all that you can before the last day of the year, because on the first day of the year, it's not going to be allowed anymore. Now, what's the import of this from your perspective?
Yes, we've been here before, like as you said. Now we are there again this time. Already in Nigeria, we have a recession, and government is looking every avenue to make sure that it can get to generate revenue to cushion the recession. And I believe that is the reason why this policy come up again.
Because a lot of, are you saying, if I understood you well, revenue to government is being lost via this land border or something?
Definitely.
Is that because people were cheating? Because whether you come through land, whether you come through air, whether you come through sea, the duty is established. So is it that the land, in the case of the land variety, people were actually fleecing government?
Exactly.
I see.
Yes.
In that case, you probably are on board with this. You can't blame the authorities for having noted that loophole and plugging it. Of
course, because you can find out that our neighboring borders, our neighboring countries, not borders, should have been having, it's been very competitive. In competitive that you can find that during the Obasanjo regime, there was concessions in the oil ports. And this is because of the challenges we are having from the neighboring ports, because the government then wants efficiency from our ports. That is why there was concessions. Because the reasons of concession is to make competitive and make the business cheap to our border, to our own ports. And that's one of the policies that was okay. Bringing in other private decisions to run the ports, not now MPA. In order to make people that were going to patronize other ports to now patronize our own ports. And that was why the ban then was lifted. And now we are into it now.
We're into it again.
We're into it again.
And I might just be guessing from the point of view of the authorities that, look, there's too much collusion going on between customs, between freighters, between importers, between businessmen. It's a whole chain, quite frankly, I think there's no other word for it, that was corruption-ridden. And the only way, since people were not going to change from their old ways, you've explained how we've been there before, it was relaxed. People simply thought that, back to our usual ways. Yeah. That it's because of this whole corruption thing that government said, look, take out that line entirely. Yeah. Would that be a reasonable assumption?
Yeah, to me, since government has come up with that.
Yes.
One thing is to say something, one thing is to implement.
To be able to implement it the way it is meant.
It should be.
Tell me your concerns in that regard as a professional.
Does the government have what it takes to be able to get it right? How many are customs, policing the borders, other agencies? In fact, all the agencies policing the borders, when you put their hands together to all around the whole, do you know how many borders we have in this country? From Katsina, Sokoto, and all the land borders.
Yeah, but all of them will not be relevant for importation of cars by land borders.
They smuggle cars through all those borders.
Oh.
Any land border that is open is being smuggled by all those things, all those smugglers. They can go at any length to do so. It's not only semi or the other way around. That cars do coming through. And how many enforcement officers do we have to man those borders? It is very easy to check from the seaport, Apapa, Tinkan, One Port, PTML, and so on and so forth. It's very easy to checkmate them. How is it easy to checkmate from the land borders we have in these nations?
Okay, and so it's conceivable that, look, because of what you've said, if government and Mr. Wale Adeni he just made the statement that, look, from the first, so do all you can up to the last day of the year. But from what you're saying, since government has now banned, come 2017, any land importation, how is that going to affect this particular drive? Will it then be that any car at all seen, now there's absolutely no reason for it to be on the road, this same shortage of staff, of people to monitor, will it not affect even at that time too?
So I'm not here to query about the government policy in terms of...
No, I'm not talking about querying. I mean, since you said it depends on how well they can manage it.
Yes.
So that might it not be well if any car at all you see driving on the land is a potential suspect, and that way it's sort of easier.
Driving on the land from the border side?
Yes.
Yeah, from the border side, of course. It's not allowed, because from the 1st of January, that's what government said. Definitely, if you're asking me if it's going to affect businesses, definitely it's going to affect businesses, because there are people who are doing this business there, either legitimate or illegitimate. Definitely.
Well, illegitimate is no good. If they're legitimate, okay.
Legitimate.
Oh, legitimate.
We're talking about legitimate.
But they're also illegitimate.
I know. That is where the problem lies. But those, like when this thing come up, the announcement comes, people were protesting about it.
Yes.
I've seen in the television when they were asked them, they were saying this and that. But even if you are doing business and it's illegal, will it continue?
Okay, let's take a break now. And then when we come back, let's look at the impact on the auto business, car sales business in Nigeria, not to mention importation business. We'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. Still with Fred Ajuzie, chair of the National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders.
NAGAF.
Yes, NAGAF. That's the Apapa chapter. And Reverend Dominic has since come on the line. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Well, I wish you give me a few minutes to express my opinion this morning.
Okay, please go ahead.
The reason, straightforward, the reason for smuggling is gain. Now let's take this analogy. If bringing goods from cars from Cotonou to clear it, to pay everything is 200 naira, and you can do that in a portal with 150 naira, is there any reason for banning and not banning? Is there anything for this trade? If I now can get the goods here and the car at 150 naira, both cleared and duty, and the Cotonou is 200 naira, who will smuggle a car? The reason for smuggling is gain. Let me give you an example. We dismantled what we call toll gate in Nigeria here. Today we have come back to the idea of toll gate. Why do we go back and front? If common sense prevails, what we have to do is lower our tariffs here. In Cotonou, they don't have any oil. They don't have land to plant hatch crops. What they have is that only pot. When they listen Nigeria increase it to 20 naira, they bring it up to 15 naira, making money. If they could bring it, the price down in this situation, use common sense in this nation. We don't need a PhD degree to govern a nation. It's a common sense. They should lower it and stop banning. When you ban, you increase smuggling.
Yeah, but Reverend, there are those who are commenting that this will actually enhance port operations. The roll-on, roll-off aspect, for instance, this will greatly enhance it.
That's what I'm saying. If you lower your tariffs, if you lower your custom duties, then this will become attractive for the development of ports. But because your duties are high, people tend to go to a better place which is lower. If we want to establish a port which is very good, we must lower our tariffs. What does it take us? It's like MTN and Globacom. How do they make money? The more people in your broadband, even though it's 10 kobo, the more people you have, you will get more money. That making it 100 naira and have less people. If we lower tariffs here, and nobody would like to go to Cotonou to buy a car. Who is a fool? The essence of smuggling is to make gain. But if you're smuggling with that gain, why should you smuggle? With all the intending risk along the line. It's just what I'm trying to say. Make our port attractive by making our custom duties so cheap, so that we will displace Cotonou, which has no business in this issue. Why do we behave as if we don't have common sense here? We will ban it today. The next one will come, will unban it. How many times since 20 years? I know in my calculation, we have unbanned and unbanned for about 10 times. Why going forward and back every day? We're about to bring back toll gate now. Obasanjo removed it. Do you think when we remove toll gate, that one day we will not have enough money to maintain this road? We are going back to ban. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no need of banning. Lower your tariffs and make Cotonou unattractive. Simple.
All right then. Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. What do you think of his argument that policies, Cotonou, for example, is being very smart and strategic with its pricing, and that's why they are rushing them, so to speak? We are where we are because we have this quote-unquote premium rate, and as the Reverend explained, people will want to get the same quality for less. It's the natural order of business.
Yeah, of course.
So it is our own. He is saying that we ourselves will not look at certain aspects of it. How come we're letting Cotonou beat us in this business?
This we'll be hearing this all the time. Every day we heard about that. Every time when I'm Cotonou beating all the time. It's not the question about the Cotonou issue. Nigeria has all it takes, all the ports for importation. But we're still having business to do with Cotonou. The government policy have never said that they don't want to have any trade with Cotonou. Therefore, it's our neighbors. That is why you can find out that ECOWAS trade is still very there. We are having common tariff from the last administration. We're having common tariff, and it can import from there. With this tariff in Nigeria, is the same tariff in Cotonou. It's a common policy. Now this administration has overviewed it and find out that we are not getting it right through that system. Then this is what we have come to do. All Nigerians, to me, we agree with our government.
Okay.
And come together and let us put our head.
You're being very patriotic about this. Business or no business?
Yeah, business or no business. Because whatever that happens is on the nation first.
Okay, let me take Mr. Makti, who has called in from Ajah. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I really love what Reverend Dominic just said. He just laid it on his head. Yeah. But the truth of the matter still lies in the fact that we're not serious people. And with all due respect to everybody, the customs, the Chiefers Council, the so-called MPA himself, they are not sincere. They are a bunch of people that are there to actually make money for themselves. I have had experience with Nigerian customs. They are far, far even worse than the police. Their operation is so porous. They don't even consider this country at all. And the only thing they're after is just to make money, both money for government and be praised that they've gotten enough money. That's that. Then you talk about the concessionaire. Yeah, the concessionaire to France. Cost of doing business in Nigerian seaports is extremely too high. Let me give you my experience. I was supposed to import a machine worth 1.8 million naira from China. I've already paid for the LC. Then I actually have to contact the so-called the the freight forwarder and say, the so-called clearing and forwarding, that how much will it cost me to, clear this? He said, let me get back to you. On getting back to me, he said 1.2 million naira. I said, if I buy a machine for 1.8 and I have to pay 1.8 million naira to clear, what are you encouraging? This is a machine that will help me to improve my door production. You want me to start producing in Nigeria, and you say I have to. And I said, man, then I just went back to collect my money. I suspended that. And that is happening to thousands of industries in Nigeria right here. That is on one. And they said they don't want us to import cars anymore. Have you heard of recent...
Through land borders. Through land borders.
Whether through land border or wherever. But have you heard that National Assembly has just imported hundreds of cars, whether through land border or through the sea? They should start by saying, let's go and buy made in Nigeria. Why don't they go to innocent to do their shopping? If I use my door, why can't they come? Whether it is good or bad, buy from me and tell me where it is, or where I need to improve.
Okay, then. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. We had arranged to call Mr. Wale Adeni in Abuja, as I said at the top of the program. We had what we thought was a firm arrangement, but I'm trying to get to him this morning. Unfortunately, his phone is switched off. Maybe it's a network thing, or I don't know, maybe he lost his phone, but he would have been able to respond to a number of these issues and clarify them. But as I said, Mr. Wale Adeni, PRO of Customs, who made the initial announcement and who we arranged with to call on the phone, unfortunately, his phone is switched off now. Nevertheless, the points that are made here, it goes back to our policy, our tariff policy, right? Because that's a businessman there. He explained how he had to abandon a project because it just wasn't making any sense. Now we're talking about cars in particular, because that is one thing that is imported day in, day out. And this whole scenario here, I just don't know. You were talking about the business aspect of it, that it's clearly going to eat into the business of your members.
Yeah.
But you are saying that, look, as a patriot, maybe it's not a small price to pay, but it's a price that is affordable in order to get things right.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Not that everybody else is feeling like that, because cars are going to become more expensive, I guess. But would you agree with that, or that's not necessarily the case?
That's not necessarily the case. We cannot presume on that now. Ban on importation of cars through the land borders. If you have an importer that is bringing through the land borders, tell him that the government policy now said, bring it through our ports. You have not tried the port and know if it's cheaper than the land border.
Yes, okay.
You can't start criticizing when you have...
Because there are the same of, well, I imagine the importation rate, the importation tariff is going to be the same, whether land, air, or sea.
Yes.
There's going to be the same.
Yes.
But probably it's a lot easier to dodge some of those charges if we're dealing with land, simply by cutting customs out altogether.
That is one of the aspects where government looked at, because there's a leakages somewhere. We want to do it through our port. Bring in your cars through the port. The rural ports are very empty. Go to Tinkan, go to PTML, and so forth. The ones who have there, they are very empty.
Yet cars are coming in every day.
And yet cars are coming every day. What stops you not to bring the cars through the port? Then if you bring it to the cost of clearing is so high, then you can now complain. When we are bringing it through the land borders, it's cheaper than when we are bringing it through our ports. You've not done that. You've not started doing that. And you start complaining. You cannot complain when you have not tried this way. But it is when you come this way, all of us will now put heads together and put it before the government that this is what is right to be done.
Okay, let's take another break. Stay with us, please, and keep your calls coming. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. And not to waste any more time, Mr. George is on the line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Uncle Yori, I don't see the point making a law that we know cannot work. I don't think this regulation can work. The reason the gentleman in front of you is saying is that it is to enhance the profitability of those, the port. Or the
underutilized
port
facilities.
Yes. I don't see that as a good reason. It is just another way of creating more business for customs men. Look at all the goods we see in our markets today, Uncle Yori. More than half of them are banned goods. You ask, how do they come in? They will come in because it is a negotiation thing they do with customs people and security officials. I don't know if you've ever been to this Cotonou border and see what goes on there. If you say cars should not come by road, they should not be brought in by road, you're only increasing the business for those who are involved in it. If I were the government, I would have devised a means. Like if you are to bring in the car through the road, you will have to pay more duty than those that are bringing in the cars from the port. Mm-hmm. So as to encourage traffic to the port. But to say you ban it is easier said than done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. Well, this is a bit like what you said at the top of the program, that look, as long as they have the wherewithal to operate this policy the way it was intended, then all well and good. But now let's talk about something that Mr. Makti first brought up, and Mr. George has also brought it up: corruption at the ports. In the wake of this administration and changing the headship of the customs, we heard glowing stories of how there's been a whole boost in the revenue derivable, from what it used to be before. You operate in there, you're working in there. Maybe you could give me your thoughts on this whole question of corruption in the whole port system, and whether it's gotten a lot less than before, whether it's where it was before, or whether it is worse than it was before.
Corruption in the port. It's not about customs, because customs are not the only government agencies in the port. Customs are only revenue collectors. But recently, from this new administration, customs has no henchman. We only have an administrator.
Yes.
Until when customs have henchman who can checkmate who is who. When you have an administrator, it doesn't know who is who. Is there to put in?
Is that a fact?
That is.
Isn't he the operational head? I'd call him administrator, call him whatever. He was appointed to clean the place up and run it.
He appointed a 70-something-year-old man to checkmate people of 30-something to 40-something years old. They are professionals. He is not a professional.
I see.
Definitely cannot know them. You bring people, you bring somebody that know who is who are revenue risk officers before he can be able to checkmate them. In fact, customs is worse than what it used to be. When the former Controller General in the DICO was there, it was even better because he knew many of them. And those who had revenue risk were checkmated. But this new man, what does he know about them? The man he's talking about, he's a retired person for over 30-something years. He's talking about his life and health. Come and checkmate people who are there doing their own kind of a professional job. It's difficult. Until government change that system by bringing a seasoned custom officer to checkmate officers.
Interesting.
That is another aspect. Cost of doing business in terms of corruption is not only about customs. SON, Standard Organization, pre-arrival assessment, which is PAR, that issued by customs. If you don't have your importation through Standard Organization, you cannot prepare for your PAR. you need to go to such area and find out the kind of corruption that's on that aspect. It's even more than customs. We have other agencies, SSS, NDLEA, police, what have you.
And you're suggesting that all of these actually happen to be business costs?
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Usman is on the line. Thank you very much for holding on. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. You see, this ban on importation on importing car through land border, I have a serious reservation about it. Yeah. You see, the guests there did not address vital issues raised by Pastor Dominic. He talked about reducing of the tariff. Why is it that Cotonou is cheaper than Nigeria? So I think one of the issues that we are facing in Nigeria is that we don't value research. We don't do research. Completely, we don't do research. So every solution we want to proffer is always a fire brigade approach. Ban, 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 ban. Now, we have to sit down and do research. Why is it that it's cheaper to clear car in Cotonou than Nigeria? Is it that the Cotonou have more facility than Nigeria or what? Research has to be conducted as to why. And then from there, you now know, you now provide a policy so as to have an upper hand. Now, a friend of mine wanted to import car recently. So he was telling me that he's going to send it through Cotonou. I said, why through Cotonou? Why not Lagos? He said that it's cheaper for him to import it through Cotonou, and from Cotonou you come to the you pay a customs. It's cheaper than bringing it to Tinkan or any of these seaports in Nigeria. So why is this so? So you see, the issue is not all about smuggling. The issue, what makes other people to even smuggle, was because of the high tariff. So if research is conducted, they will now know that, okay, people smuggle cars because of the high tariff. So what can we do to reduce the tariff so that it will not discourage people from smuggling it and it will not increase importation? So that is my contribution.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you for calling in.
Do I come in?
Yes. Did you want to come in?
If you want me to come in.
Sure.
In demand, the lack of information sometimes is a kind of a problem to certain people. Doing business in Cotonou and doing business in our own port. In our own port costs a little bit less and less stress. In 80s, I remember in 80s and 90s, all these cars that are coming in through the land borders are coming in through our ports. Then you now ask questions. Why do people decided to start going to the land borders? That's one of the problems. Because from 80s, 90s, even to early 2000, rural ports were very viable. All cars coming.
And we're actually costing slightly less than
Cotonou. Very, very, very less than Cotonou.
Oh, much less.
Much less than Cotonou, I remember. But it was government policy also that drove people down to Cotonou. Because when they said that 10 years car, 15 years, blah, 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 blah.
That was in the Obasanjo era.
Yeah, that was the reason where people get to that, because they start bringing in vehicles that could not be meet up the year standard. Understand?
Mm-hmm. So these are some of the factors.
These are some of the factors.
Okay. Let me bring in Mr. Owolabi. Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you
Mr.
for calling.
Yori.
Please go ahead.
Please, I want you to know that the inflation that is still going to hit Nigeria is still doing press up. Because now you're banning the land border. What is the alternative you're creating at the seaport? Go to seaport today in Apapa. Many cars are there that are jam-packed. Because I can't really get everything right here in Nigeria. I bought cars to the US.
Sorry, Mr. Owolabi. We hear that roll-on, roll-off facilities are actually lying idle.
Hello?
We hear that there is an underutilization of facilities in Lagos ports, for example. The roll-on, the RORO, so-called RORO, roll-on, roll-off facilities are actually lying idle, fallow, because there's no business.
Mr. Yori, I just wish TVC can just go to Apapa and cover the activities going on there. As in, don't let us deceive ourselves. Nigeria, we're still not getting anything right. I prefer to import my car down to Cotonou, than import to Apapa.
Well, okay. Again, criticism of policy making. He's saying there that we just seem to have this difficulty in getting things right. You yourself had explained how there was a time when the roll-on roll-off facilities were, fully engaged, and it was even more cost-effective than Cotonou, where everybody has now gone to. Yeah. But I imagine that somebody called in and said, look, what's going on? Why don't people just research things and find out why Cotonou has become a hot cake, and then, trump them? That would have been, that's the way it looks. That would be the most sensible way to go. And how I wish that Mr. Adini, Mr. Wale Adini, who is the spokesperson and the PRO of Customs, who agreed with us to call him today, but unfortunately his phone is switched off, he would have been able to really put attention on, so put a bit more light on what exactly is going on, why the stop-start, kind of policy making that you are saying. But we were on customs. We were on corruption at the ports, and you were saying it's not just customs. Yeah. You mentioned other organizations, SON, and unfortunately you seem to be suggesting that there is a corruption index in every step of the way. That, in this change era, I would have thought would have cleaned itself up and nobody would be involved in that. But you seem to be suggesting that Nigerians are simply finding way around things.
Of course. That's the correct thing. Because every part of us are corrupt. Every part of us. To change that concept.
Of the way we've been doing business.
The way we've been doing business.
Even though we say it's no more business as usual. It is actually going on very much as usual.
Of course.
In your sector, as far as you know.
In every sector.
Well, in every sector.
It's not in my own sector.
But you have first-hand knowledge of yours.
Yeah.
The other ones you are hearing.
I'm only hearing others. But I am trying to tell you, from my own perspective,
that
corruption is not only about customs. It's inclusive.
Okay. Mr. Yusuf, thank you for holding on, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Please, I want to contribute to what they're saying. Land, for which to get land borders, I prefer I should take my car, or I should buy a car, take it through the borders of other countries and take it to the border of Nigeria. Because the tariff they are going to remove from me, as in from my car, is going to buy another one. I don't know, maybe you get what I'm trying to say. Buying car from other country and shipping it to the borders in Apapa. If you can, I'm sorry to say this, if you can go to Apapa or any shipping, see what they are doing with other people's cars there. You will know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You will know that there is something going on. Because tariff they are using to remove, they are getting from the car here is different from the other ones there. Thank you.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for calling in. Somebody also made, somebody also made the suggestion that, look, we have a few auto facilities. It might be assembling, but why don't we, it has been suggested, just make it almost impossible not to patronize Innocent Motors, for example, not to patronize, make it very difficult not to patronize Peugeot Automobile and whoever else is assembling things. But for some reason, we're not putting attention in that regard. And here we are chasing after, some might even say, shadows in terms of if we want to really be serious. We've heard that comment once or twice today that we're not serious yet. Would you subscribe to that?
I don't subscribe that we're not serious. Why are we not serious as a nation?
Okay, let me come back to you. We've got to go on a break, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, welcome back. Thinking of importing a car? Well, not through the land borders, except you can do your business before the last day of the year, because come 2017, January 1, then the only option you have is going to be through the seaports. If you want, you can also do the airports, but no land borders anymore. Jerry in Port Harcourt is standing by. Good morning, Jerry.
Hello?
Hello, Jerry.
Hello?
Good morning, Jerry. We can hear you. Please go ahead with your comments.
Okay. I don't subscribe to what is the policy of them not bringing cars on the land. Because what I see is just making smugglers get more money. Whether they like it or not, the cars will always pass through the land. Look at the band rights, but you're still seeing them bringing them through the same land. I really don't support this government policies.
Okay.
It's not helping us. It's really not helping us.
Okay.
That's
all right,
my comment to it.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry and a lot of people might not immediately identify with the policy because at the end of the day, it's going to make the item cost more. He said you're just providing, I think Mr. George also alluded to that whoever is not doing business the right way, you're just giving him more of the same, so he's able to do more. You have said that you don't have anything against this new policy if government can make it work the way it's supposed to be. That's the caveat.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a big caveat because people are saying that, for instance, people are saying that, forget it. Cars are still going to come through land border. I think you can't import rice as well, via land borders or something like that, or is it a total outright ban? It's not a further rice that is alone in the market.
Yeah.
You find all sorts of exotic rice in the market. So people think that irrespective of this policy, we're still going to go there. Is it an impossible task, do you think?
There's nothing you can eradicate in totality, but it's going to boost our revenue collection from the...
How about boosting corruption too, which some people have said, that people are not careful?
Corruption is part of us. It's in everybody.
Yeah, but we want to fix that. We want to take it out.
Yes, that is what we're talking about. Fixing it out is to make the business more legitimate. Bring it through don't bring it through the land border, bring it to the seaport and pay custom duty.
But it doesn't need to make the end cost, the end cost of the car at the car lot, it doesn't need to make it more expensive.
Of course, it doesn't. If you buy an expensive car to come and get out in the port, you pay for it because you want to buy an expensive car.
Okay.
It's a luxury cost.
Okay, yeah. No, without prejudice to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Wolabi is standing by. Good morning, Mr. Wolabi.
Good morning, sir, Mr. Yeri.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Please, I'd like to contribute to your program.
We'd like you to.
Do you know, sir, if you buy a car at rate of, let's say, 550 euro in Germany, and you're bringing it to Nigeria through rural ports, it's going to cost you about $2,500 to bring it in. And if an hustler in Nigeria, a small-scale businessman who wants to start his own business just little by little, and maybe he's having about 150,000 naira to buy a small vehicle, to be pushing his product around. And you're asking such a person, a car that he bought around the 90-something thousand naira, or let's say something, as our money is very poor now, from Germany through rural ports. How could that person meet up? The rate, the tariff put on importation through rural ports is too high. And a common businessman can never make up such a thing. We'll just be deceiving ourselves. Sir, I don't know, maybe you are buying things from market. Everything, in fact, everything is so expensive.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Wolabi. I understand your call and I appreciate it. The point has come up again that whoever is making those policies might not, I think the fact has been the point has been made that we don't like or we don't undertake research. Whoever is making these policies is not thinking about the ordinary end user. The man as a business, we've heard one businessman who wanted to bring in a machine, he told you his problems. This is another gentleman who is saying that, how can business people survive with this? Now the problem here is that survive we will. Nigerians are survivors, one way or the other. And it's one of the incongruities. That's why we will find products that are completely banned and you see them in open markets there for everybody to price. Everybody sees it. How this whole thing is going to end up, most people are not satisfied that this has been thought through. But as I say, let me say it for the third time, Mr. Wale Adeniyi, who would have set us right on these matters, we couldn't get him, unfortunately. After agreeing that we would call him this morning, at least if we couldn't get him in person, we can get you on the phone. Whatever has happened, his phone is switched off, and so we can't make that contact. But people think that this whole thing is not going to work and is going to continue. You can't ban, that's the problem. You can't ban importation of cars through the port. So it's now up to government to say, on the contrary, we can and we will. Now, does government have the capacity to do that?
That was what I asked before. I said, not the banning cars coming through the land borders is the matter. Do government have what it takes to man that land borders the way it should be?
Let's see what Mr. Adesina thinks. He's called in again. Good morning, Mr. Adesina.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. I can hear you.
And good morning to your guests.
Okay.
I hope if you should conduct opinion poll on the whole country to support the ban on importation of cars through our land borders, you will discover that 90% or above will be against the ban on that importation. And the reason is so simple. The cost effectiveness of bringing your car through the land and through the port, they are two different things. And that is why, yes, you cannot rule the fact of smugglers bringing cars through the land border. But what I will want the government to do is to see how we can improve on the policies of how the cars are coming through the land borders, so that there will be no bottleneck when all the nations are bringing cars through the port. And your guys this said, he mentioned 1980s, 1990s, when things were done through that way. You need to consider the population of then and now. The population of Nigeria as of 1990, and 2016. Now consider the whole country bringing their cars through the port. You're going to consider the bottleneck. I have a brother that was importing and exporting of containers. Sometime 1997, 98 precisely. It takes 2 months to clear those goods from the port. And that, we can't go back to that system again. And it was the centralization of the policy. It is good for cars to come through the land and through the port. That is how we can move. We need to be moving and not to be retrogressing again.
All right.
Because now countries are flying higher. We cannot continue to go front and back.
Okay.
And that is why we need to get it right. Those making the policies to do take a critical time and check and see the effectiveness of what the profession is going to get from this. Not for any selfish or any interior motive. Every policy government is making, yes, today they may be looking at it good. But they need to know that people are suffering. They need to bring the common man along the board. So that it's not just be the elite alone that are making the policies do themselves. You need to spread and decentralize and make sure that the government is for the people. And the people must enjoy the effects of the government. Okay. So I want to implore you that please, you see, the gentleman, your guest, is making a point that at the same time, you need to consider the masses and consider the entire population of the whole country.
Okay, then. Well, thank you very much. And, well, actually, that call took us to the end. But at the end of the day, government has, as it were, sneezed and we've all caught a cold. But you are saying that, look, let's wait for this policy to go into operation. Yeah. Then let's compare the before and after. Yeah. And you are saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be that this will jack up the price of cars, but it remains to be seen, right?
Yeah.
And you are saying, you've also said very patriotically that, look, if this is the policy, it behoves all of us to you know, support it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Mr. Ajuzie, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Fred Ajuzie is chairman of the National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders, Apapa chapter, NAGAF, and been very patriotic this morning. Although he has said that there are pitfalls, there all sorts of corruption stops. They are all there. If these can be cleared up, things will be a lot better. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.